Hey everyone, welcome to Kempner Canucks. My name is Rev Trev, and I'm so glad you're here because tonight, whenever you're watching this, we're going to do an incredible interview with Brandon Astle from the Abbotsford Canucks. Yes, you heard that right, so I'm excited to have him here. I'm going to hit the promo. We're going to dive in. We're going to get into Abbotsford Canucks and Vancouver Canucks talk. Let's go. Welcome, Brandon, to the channel. I'm so excited to have you here. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Rev Trev. Nice to meet you. And that little intro there got me fired up. Let's do this.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why, but I'm already pumped for the season. And part of it is because of the schedule just came out and it just kind of fired me up. And I'm like, why is this getting me so excited? But it is what it is, and we still have quite a few months away, and so do you with the Abbotsford Canucks. About just under 3 months, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I wish the season started tomorrow. I feel like I've recharged the batteries after, unfortunately, not a long season when not making the playoffs, but a chance for everybody in the organization, not just the players, but staff, like going all the way to the Calder Cup and winning it all, playing until late June. It takes a toll on the body, man. So you learn to appreciate that long run after missing the playoffs and seeing all the other teams have the fun.
Right. Yeah, and that is a humongous difference from going all the way. And isn't it so awesome that you went all the way and won it? You didn't have the heartbreak, and then the next year going in, and it's like there was a lot of different turnover from that year to this year, and just with what was happening in Vancouver and some of the guys coming up that needed to play in Vancouver because of injuries and different things that were going on. I mean, those are just two different seasons, right? And so, how does that work for you as an announcer, as a play-by-play guy, as a broadcaster?
Yeah, it definitely can be tough, especially in the AHL. Rev Trev, all of a sudden there's a player that's signed the day of, and they're playing that night. You're like, wait, what? Like you're doing a lot of digging. You're going on Google, Hockey DB, trying to research clips, talk to anybody that might have some intel on these players, whether they're coming up from the ECHL or fresh out of college or major juniors. So I think that's one of the neat things about the American Hockey League is expect the unexpected. Lots of turnover, lots of action. You can never set your lineup in stone just because lines and D pairs look a certain way at morning skate. That might not be the case during the game at about 7-8 hours later. So it definitely keeps you on your toes, and you got to be ready for what's coming because the league is not going to wait for anyone. You got to be ready from the jump, and every team gets impacted at some point. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you, whether you're missing your top players. Goaltender just got called up. You have to sign somebody off the street to be an emergency backup, which we saw a few times this past year. It's when that puck drops, you got to try and do your best to win the hockey game, and unfortunately, this past season wasn't like the one prior.
Yeah, it totally. And that's the AHL especially. You don't know who's going to be in the lineup one day from the next. But all right, so as we dive into the Abbotsford Canucks talk, I actually want to start with you. I want to ask, how long have you been working with the Abbotsford Canucks? Because some people might not know your history there. And what do you love about your role with Abbotsford? How did you become an announcer? I'd love to hear your story a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been with Abbotsford since their inaugural season 5 years ago. I joined the team about halfway through season one with some interesting circumstances of how that unfolded, but very glad it worked out in my favor. So I've pretty much been with the team since day one, and love every minute of it. I'm a huge Canucks fan, just like yourself, born and bred a Canucks fan, and remember 1994 like it was yesterday when I was a young buck, and obviously the memorable run in 2011 coming so close. And that's kind of the story in Canucks Nation, just haven't been able to break through, which was a bit of a surprise that the Abby Canucks got the job done. You just thought that the Canucks might Canuck, if you will, find a way to unfortunately suffer some heartbreak. So it was great to see them get over the hump. I know it's not the Stanley Cup, but the Calder Cup is pretty cool and a huge accomplishment in itself, right? So That's a bit about me and my time with the Abbey Canucks. There's a lot of turnover on the team, Rev Trev. There's been a lot of turnover with staff as well, which is great. A lot of people moving up, getting opportunities. Obviously, I'm sure you've talked about Manny Malhotra, Ryan Johnson. There's other guys, support staff, video coaches, medical staff that have been promoted these last few years, which is so neat about being a part of the Abbotsford Canucks. That's one of my favorite things. For instance, I'll be calling somebody's game, say someone like, I don't know, Ty Mueller on a Wednesday night in Abbotsford. Next thing you know, he's in Vancouver playing on Friday in his first NHL game, and got his first NHL goal in the last game of the season in Edmonton. So that's definitely one of my favorite parts about the job, is seeing these guys just grind and eventually reach their dream, and then playing in an NHL game and scoring a goal. Like, I scream from the top of my lungs in my living room when an Abbey guy gets their first goal. There's no feeling like it. I feel like I'm one of their family members. So that's definitely a great part. And I think the best thing is the fans. Rev Trev, how passionate Canucks fans are. Like, if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, you're an Abbotsford Canucks fan. It's just the way it is. So just the passion throughout Canucks Nation, it spreads far and wide. And I saw through the Calder Cup run, like, it's just not in BC. It's just not in Canada. It's not only in North America. I was getting texts on the Sportsnet 650 text line, people listening in Europe, Spain, South Africa, staying up all hours of the night following the Abbey Canucks. So that was really neat and kind of took me by surprise to just hear how widespread Canucks Nation is, and the fan engagement online. Like, people are just awesome. They just want their Canucks to do well. Obviously, right now, a lot of folks are interested in the prospects and what's coming up the pipe. So the intrigue and interest will be aplenty when the season starts again.
Totally. I have a good friend whose son is going to school because he wants to get into broadcasting too, especially sports. What was your kind of path to that, and how did you kind of get hooked up with, obviously you've got a passion for the game, but there's a lot of people that have passion for a game, there's guys like us that are doing YouTube channels and that kind of stuff. How did you get into that the mode, and how did you get the opportunity to kind of move around and try your skills out?
Yeah, a lot of trials and tribulations. It has not been an easy path, such as anything in life that you're trying to chase down a dream to make it to the NHL. There's going to be some bumps along the way. You're going to want to quit. You're going to want to maybe try something else. But at the end of the day, the passion just takes over. And I've always been passionate about hockey and commentating since I was a young kid. I would commentate our street hockey games in the cul-de-sac, although it was more so making fun of my neighbors and friends while we were playing. And they just got a big kick out of it and encouraged me to keep doing it while I was playing. So that's kind of how it started, just like the typical Canadian thing to say, right? Like, in the streets playing hockey with your friends. But that's truly how it all began. And I remember I would try to finish up playing hockey in the cul-de-sac by like 6:45, rollerblade down to my house, turn on our kitchen radio, put it on CKNW, and listen to Jim Robson and Tom Larscheid tee up the game. And back then in the 90s, not every Canucks game was on TV. So I was listening to Jim and thinking, wow, what he's doing is really, really cool. I would love to do that someday. And a quick side story, which something that really cool just happened to me. I actually got an award Jim Robson won as the best Western Canadian broadcaster. I got it in my other room here. I should bring it over from his estate. They sent it to me in the mail 2 weeks ago. It's one of the coolest things I own. It's just like this little crystal that says Jim Robson, winner, Western Canadian broadcaster. It's I still can't believe I own it, because he is literally my idol and the reason why I got into play-by-play commentating. So listening to Jim, and then eventually Jim Houston taking over. John Shorthouse is one of my favorites of all time. Mm-hmm. I've had an opportunity to chat with him a lot over the years in my role at the Abbey Canucks, so that's been really neat. And then I went to, I guess, to get back to your question, I got into broadcasting school in 2007. I was playing junior hockey at the time. I decided to hang him up. I knew I wasn't going to the NHL and thought I'd try to get a head start on broadcasting and try to make it the NHL that way. So I did a quick program downtown Vancouver at Columbia Academy. It was very hands-on. They got me into, I don't want to call it internship, but they latched me out with the Coquitlam Adanacs Junior B lacrosse team just to get my feet wet. They're looking for a broadcaster. So that was my first experience doing play-by-play. It was pretty much calling a boxing match, because these are like, I don't know, grade 12 guys, just graduated high school, just going out looking for fights while playing lacrosse. So cut my teeth that way. And after my program ended, I didn't have anything lined up. I was pretty upset. Some classmates were heading up north to like Dawson Creek to kind of earn their stripes as like a DJ on a radio station. I wanted to do play-by-play, and there wasn't really any openings. And oddly enough, I finished my final exam, and my dad picks me up my last day at school. And on the phone, he had the director of marketing, Jared Harmon from the Langley Chiefs, on the phone because my dad had a tie-in. He's a scout with the Langley Chiefs, and Jared at the time was their play-by-play guy, and he was going to hang him up and focus on marketing full-time, and asked if I'd come in for an interview. Went in, did an interview, got the job just like that. So I was the play-by-play guy for the Langley Chiefs in 2008, and was able to stay in the BCHL for 5 years, and then the Abbotsford Heat in the AHL, the Flames affiliate at the time. We're looking for a commentator in 2013. I was like 20, 21 years old, didn't think I had a shot. Somehow got an interview and got the job. So that was an eye-opener. I was drinking out of a fire hose, went from junior to the pros just like that. Traveled with the Abbey Heat. They were the most traveled team in all of hockey that year. Oklahoma City was in our division. So just for starters, just pretty wild to travel to those places. But for a young guy like myself at the time, it was really cool to go to all these cities, San Antonio, Grand Rapids, just like really to these towns that have had AHL hockey for a long time, to see the passion that the fans had in those markets, and just being involved with that. Unfortunately, it only lasted for a year because the team moved to Glens Falls, New York. And at that time was kind of on my rear end, and bounced around a little bit, got into lacrosse, worked for the Vancouver Stealth, did their play-by-play for a bit, road games. And then Aquilini bought the Stealth, moved them downtown to Rogers Arena, applied for the job and somehow got it. So I was calling games out of the Jim Robson broadcast gondola. Although it was a lacrosse, not hockey, it was still cool to still sit in that perch where Shorty and Cheech were calling games from. And eventually got to the Abbotsford Canucks, as hockey's always been my passion. And here we are. I know that was pretty long-winded, but I'm coming up on year 19 calling games next year.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing that. That I find that super interesting. Yeah, because it's tough to make it. It's tough to break in. And I mean, and now, especially in our community with losing Sportsnet 650, that's a huge blow to our community. 2 sports radio stations. So I decided, I mean, people are like, where are they going to listen to stuff now? And what, there's lots of confusion. I'm personally sad about that because a lot of those shows I listen to every day or most days. So I decided to start a podcast. And I am already doing this one. This is my video stuff that I've been doing. But so, Brandon, you're the very first guest ever as well. Not only on the video, but the audio. So I was thinking maybe I should send this logo to you. You can put it up behind you there because this is a special moment, I guess.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. You can put it on your resume.
I'm honored. Yes. That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, it sucks what happened to Sportsnet 650, man. Those are some great guys and gals that worked hard. And I was lucky enough to join those shows on Halford and Bruff, especially a lot during the Calder Cup run, and Sat and Bick and Canucks Lunch with Josh and Lena. So just like that, unfortunately, we saw it with Team 1040. All of a sudden, the radio station was there one day, and hours later, it wasn't. And like yourself, Rev Trev, I'm in the car, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to listen to? Music? Like, what do people do without sports talk? So
right.
I'm glad there's lots of avenues and platforms like yourself that are being offered to consume Canucks talk. So I hope that those folks out of a job maybe lean that way, like Sakaris and Price did when they lost their show on 1040.
Yeah, I mean, and there's my moment of a shameless plug there. But yeah, you're literally my first ever guest on the audio podcast, and this is episode number 5 there, which I don't know how many videos I've made. I don't know, 300. I don't know. I made a lot. So I do really appreciate what you do, because I got an opportunity now in a different role, okay, to work with the Nanaimo Clippers. And I know that you've been in the BC HL. Is it JHL? HL? I don't know.
BCHL. It's BCHL. It used to be BCJHL. So do you work with my guy, Dan Marshall?
No. Well, I saw. Okay. So yes. Now, let me explain what my job was. It's different.
Okay.
So I was the in-arena host. So I was the giveaway guy. I was the guy who get pumped up the crowd. I was in between jobs, and a friend of mine who works with the Night Owls, the local baseball team here, was friends with the general manager, and they were looking for someone. He knew, and so he gave him my name. And next thing you know, I'm on staff doing every game, and so I'm up in the booth talking to the guys who exactly. You're your friend doing the play-by-play, who does an incredible job.
Amazing.
And you got the other guys that are in there doing all the other stuff. So, and the reason why I say that is because then I got an opportunity to not do the play-by-play, but to do the announcing of the goals and everything, and to play the music at the Nanaimo Buccaneers game.
Okay, so you're the Al Murdoch of the Buccaneers.
Right, and so all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of this. I had to download all this music. I'm doing all this stuff. It was hilarious. It was so hard to do the music and the announcing and trying to pronounce the names. And if you watch my channel, people who watch my channel, they know, like, I'm worse than Don Cherry when it comes to pronouncing names. Okay. So
are you worse than Dollywall?
I think I'm rivaling Dollywall. Like, it takes me a while to get used to it. I have to really work on it. So I wanted to ask you, just like, as someone who does content and did some of those stuff, I only lasted one game. I was like, no, I'm good. I needed to fill in for a friend. Joe is an amazing guy, incredible guy who does that. And then, but how are you able to pronounce the names of all these players? Because they're not just local, they're international too. So what do you do? Because when a team comes in, these are players you don't know, and you don't have that. So how do you work on that? I would love to know, because I need to work on it.
Yeah, for example, I mentioned, like, all of a sudden a player wasn't at morning skate that day, but they're playing that night. You don't know who they are. I just go on Twitter and type in their name, and there's a good chance that there's a clip of them and their announcer is saying their name, scoring a goal, or like making a save or something like that, right? So with technology these days and the platforms available, YouTube, Twitter, you can usually find the right pronunciation. But then there's the odd time where you hear his name called certain way in like junior college, and then he goes to the pros, ECHL, AHL, and the announcer's saying his name another way. And so at the end of the day, you got to make a gut decision. It's close to puck drop. You just try to go with one way and be consistent with it. And then after the game, just go to the source and be like, hey, how do you say your name? Sometimes I'll text our PR guy, team services manager, Ben, and be like, hey, can you ask so-and-so how to pronounce his name? And one was the one that got me at first was Lekkerimäki. He joined the team late a few years ago in the season. And I asked Ben, because it was a quick turnaround, like, ask John how he says his name. And so Ben gave his phone to Lekkerimäki and said, say your last name. And I still have it saved as a voice clip. He's like, Jonathan Lekkerimäki. And I'm just like, wow, do I go with that? Like, that's like the Swedish way. Like, how do you like North Americanize it? Like, what's going on here? So if you listen back, the first few games, I went with Jonathan Lekkerimäki, which no one has ever called him in North America.
Wow.
And so I made the switch pretty quick after I hear Shorthouse call him Lekkerimäki and Brendan Batchelor call him Lekkerimäki. So those are just some behind the scene things that people don't get to see, but I was sweating on that one big time. So at the end of the day, I just try to hear it from the player themselves. But then again, you got to make a choice. Like, if a European is going to say their name differently, like Atu Ratu, he calls himself like Atu Ratu. Like, I'm not going to say that on the broadcast. So that's like the way you say it in Finland. Although I am Finnish, I do not have that accent. So
right.
Some things you'd see behind the scenes and just shake your head what goes on there.
So we're gonna get into some players' names and stuff, and I love this. I do have one that I need to ask you, because you know this one, because it was Max Sasson, and then it's Sasson, right? And it's like all these different things, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And then now on the broadcast they're saying Sasson, and I'm like, I think it's Sasson. What you've been there, you've talked to him. What is it? Can you tell me which way it's supposed to be said?
I can't. I honestly can't. I've called him everything, and he's told me to call him Sasson multiple times. So I said, like, okay, Max, we're going with this. We're not going back. He goes, yeah, my family they love it, Sasson. And so I call him Sasson for a few years. He goes up to the NHL. Shorthouses call him Sasson. So I text him, like, dude, what the hell is going on here? Like, you make me look like an idiot calling you Sasson. Like, he's like, don't worry about it. It's all good. I'm just like, no, like, what is it? And he just kind of laughs. And so then eventually I got close with his dad during the Calder Cup run, texted him. I'm like, Alan, how do you say your last name? Like, Max is killing me. And he just laughed and didn't give me an answer. They just will not give me an answer. And so I'm calling him Sasson. I don't care what they say. I don't care what Shorty calls him. I'm calling him Max Sasson. All my clips in the Calder Cup run, I'm calling him Sasson. So I'm sticking with that. I don't care what people say.
You know what? I love it. That's what I wanted to do, but I'm finding myself calling him the other name because of, the Vancouver broadcast. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, for those who've never been to an Abbotsford Canucks game, how would you describe the game day experience?
I would describe it as intimate. Like, there's only 7,000 seats. You're right on top of the action. The fan engagement is incredible. You're close to the players. If you're sitting right near the bench, it feels like you're sitting on the bench. The in-game presentation team does a great job. They keep the fans involved, do all sorts of things on the Jumbotron during stoppages and commercial breaks and all that stuff. The players are accessible to an extent. After games, like, fans know where to wait in the parking lot to get autographs and pictures and stuff like that. So you're just a little closer to the players compared to them being in the NHL. And the passion is just unbelievable. Like, I know it's the Canucks, but like the Abbotsford Canucks, it's almost like it's a Fraser Valley's team, right? Yeah. Surrey, Langley, Aldergrove, Abbotsford, Chilliwack. You just see a lot of those types of people come out to the games. A lot of them are season ticket holders and have a lot of passion. Obviously, it sucks when Vancouver and Abbotsford are playing at the same time, but almost to those folks, it doesn't matter. Like, they're going to be in Abbotsford cheering on the prospects. So just the game day experience is incredible. There's a lot of hardworking people that do a lot to make sure that fans leave Rogers Forum with a good experience.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't been over to one yet, and I'm like, I need to get over there. But whenever, because I live on Vancouver Island, I'm in Nanaimo, as you know, and I'm just sitting there going, if I'm going over, I'm usually going over to a Canucks game because the Hello Ferry brings us right downtown. Then I'm walking to the stadium, but I'm like, I need to get to an Abbotsford Canucks game. So if I do, I'll hit you up. I know that you're busy during the game, but maybe we could meet after or something just for a couple minutes. But I really want to go and experience that. And we almost went to the finals, and the ticket prices went through the roof. We almost paid that much. We're just thinking, I think it's going to be history here, but didn't end up going. So I'm really excited to go try it out myself. But I keep hearing great things about these Abbotsford games and the atmosphere and the fun and these guys work hard. So I'm excited to go. I can't wait.
Yeah, and it's a little more accessible too, right? Like, the parking's a lot better. There's obviously there's no SkyTrain, so there's a lot less foot traffic as well. It's next to the University of Fraser Valley, so there's lots of parking. It's a lot cheaper. So that's there's some things, like my buddies tell me, like they prefer going out to Abbotsford games instead of trekking all the way downtown, just because of the accessibility and how easy it is to get in and out of the arena.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I got to get there. Okay, yeah. Well, let's dive in. I know a lot of people are here because they want to hear your opinion on a number of these things, but I do want to talk a little bit more about your favorite memories from the Calder Cup Championship run. I know that, like, I loved it when you said history has been made. I mean, did you think about like what you were going to say if you won and what you were going to say? But this team was like 500 in January, and they went on an incredible run to win their first ever Calder Cup. But what were some of the highlights for you just throughout that season, throughout that cup run, that you just like, you're always going to remember?
Yeah, like you said, Rev Trev, making the playoffs was never a shoo-in, even in like March. They were hovering around 500, and now the legendary story in Laval, and right after the Christmas break, they got hammered by the Rocket. There was a closed-door players-only meeting, and at the same time, there was a closed-door coaches and GM meeting with Ryan Johnson and Manny Malhotra. And to a man, from what I heard, what took place in there, no one says exactly. Like, it's almost like it's a fairy tale or folk story that the guys aren't going to come out and say who said what, but the moral of the story was just like, guys, are we going to pack this thing in, or are we going to try to do something with the season? And everybody just agreed, like, let's really try to dig in here, and because they knew that there was a special group inside that locker room, and including the coaching staff, like they thought the team could play a lot better than they were in January. Next thing you know, they go on a huge winning streak and won 7 games, 11 games, and were pretty much unbeatable in regulation from like February all the way till the end of the regular season in April. So at the end of March, you can kind of see like, okay, this team is peaking at the right time. There's something special brewing. And the one thing that I noticed was like the buy-in was there. They checked their egos at the door. In the American Hockey League, Rev Trev, obviously there's guys in the AHL that think they should be in the NHL. Guys are getting called up, but not them. They want to know why. They tout about it. There was none of that going on late in that season. And so everybody was just on the same page and faced some adversity early on in the first round, which was a quick best of 3 at Tucson. There's a winner-take-all game number 3, and I think they played their best game in the playoffs in that game 3. They smoked the Roadrunners 5-0 and really didn't look back after that. They took care of business against Coachella Valley, who made it to the finals in consecutive years, and then they take on a Colorado team that won the division in the third round and played a winner-take-all game 5 with them and smoked them 5-0 again. Shelovs was incredible. And then they take on the Texas Stars, who were scoring at will. They were like the Harlem Globetrotters going into that series. They had so many dynamic offensive players, but I just saw what Abbotsford was doing to good players in Colorado, Coachella, and Tucson, and felt really confident that they could shut them down and get the job done because they were just playing like that playoff type hockey where everybody was selling out, blocking shots. Shelovs was incredible. They were grinding. They were outstanding on special teams, and sure enough, they shut down the big guns for the most part in Texas and beat them in 6 games. And I think winning that 6th game, I'll never forget like the energy in the crowd, like Al Murdoch here saying over the mic, like the Abbotsford Canucks are going to the Calder Cup final. Like I'm getting chills right now just thinking about that and how excited fans were and how tickets were sold out like not even an hour after that game for the Calder Cup finals against Charlotte. So just the buzz, the energy, the fan support, like Vancouver Canucks fans really jumped on board and loved the Abbotsford Canucks and what they were doing. So it's something that in the moment I made sure to like stop myself to like really take it all in and not take it for granted. And I'm glad I did that because I soaked in every second. It was really, really special. And to cap it off in the finals, beating a Charlotte team that were like world beaters. They came off consecutive sweeps. They beat the best team in the league, Laval Rocket, in 4 games. And I was a little worried of what we're going to see from the Checkers. And they were outstanding, but the Canucks were just a little bit better and got the job done. So just a lot of fun, great memories looking back. And game 6, when the buzzer sounded and hearing Ryan Johnson hear the stories, like his favorite memory is just hearing the roar of the bench inside a silent Bojangles Coliseum. I heard it from the broadcast booth in the rafters, sweating my bag off. Like I heard like the players just like the roar they let out. I will never forget it. And then streaming over to Shelovs to jump him. It was just like incredible to witness and relive right now with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so you've watched all these games. You've been there for those moments. You've been behind the scenes watching a guy like Manny Malhotra, and now he's the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. What are his strengths, and what is he going to bring over to the big club now that's going to help rebuild this franchise?
Yeah, he brings a lot of elite traits to the table. Hard to pick just one, Rev Trev. He makes a great connection with the players. First and foremost, he is a perfect modern day coach because the game is different. The players are different. This generation of hockey players are not the same like back in the 90s and early 2000s. It's just different. They're a lot more skilled. Social media is involved. They're looking at their highlights all the time. They're reading posts about them in the newspaper, on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. So it's just like there's a lot more distractions, and Manny understands that. And even before Caleb was drafted to the Canucks, like I thought like Manny was a perfect coach for Abbotsford because he's around Gen Zs all the time. Like Caleb, I'm sure like he's on his phone a lot on Instagram and all that stuff, and not really maybe being present all the time like we were as kids growing up because there's a lot less distractions. A lot of people are just like a lot of kids these days are indoors on TikTok, right? Video games and stuff like that. So I thought like Manny being around that with Caleb and his friends would be great as a head coach in Abbotsford around the Canucks top prospects like Lekkerimäki and Kudryavstev and those types, just because he knows how they operate on a day-to-day and kind of knows what to expect from them. And I think, like, to a man, the players will all admit, like, they feel comfortable around him. Like, coaches in the olden days wanted their players scared of them, right? Wanted them to be walking on eggshells and being scared to make mistakes. Where Manny was just like, okay, he's like, screw up, learn from it, grow. Like, all he asked for is an honest effort each and every day. And you hear Ryan Johnson say all the time, he said it in 5 years in Abbotsford and his press conference when he got the GM job. It's all about what you do Monday at 9 a.m. Like, everybody looks at game day, 7 o'clock, Friday night, Saturday night. It's not going to matter unless you work hard and practice and in the gym. And that's the same mantra that Manny brings to the table as well. So just the way he carries himself, he really gets to know his players. He'll ask how the wives are doing, the dogs, the kids, all that type of stuff. Like, he really builds that connection with the players, which I think is appreciated in the locker room. So that's one thing he is very good at. Another thing is accountability. He sat down some pretty key veterans over the last few years that were getting a little too complacent in practice and not really translating to games, and that's going to get their attention. And so when that happened, that really got the attention of the locker room, like a rookie coach sitting some pretty big names like Christian Wolanin and Phil DiGiuseppe, who was just sent down from Vancouver. Like, he's got a spot for sure in Abbotsford. He's going to play top six. Not so fast, said Manny. He really made him earn it. And you can tell, like, Phil and Christian really appreciated that. And even talking to those two guys in the team room after they won the Calder Cup, like, Christian and Manny had a laugh about it, because obviously Christian wasn't happy with getting healthy scratch for consecutive weeks. Like, he was the AHL Defenseman of the Year a year before that, or 2 years before that. And now he's getting scratch. He's watching the game in the press box. I don't know if he asked for a trade. I'm sure he talked to his agent. That's what guys do nowadays. You're not playing, get me out of here, right? That's just me speculating. But, like, Christian with, like, a drink in his hand, his Calder Cup Championship shirt on, just could not thank Manny enough for going through that. And Manny even joked, like, hey, remember when I scratched you? Like, they had a chuckle about it. And it was something that I'll never forget. I was standing right there. The two guys that I'm sure were at odds early on in the year were having a laugh, and we're Calder Cup champions at the end of the day from what Manny did early on. So just to see the stones that he had to do that, like, I was like, wow, this guy's a real deal. And obviously people around the NHL circles took notice, and his name was coming up a lot and head coach openings. And I was just saying, like, please just let him land with the Vancouver Canucks somehow. I know he doesn't want to be an assistant again. Just please, somehow, some way, keep him in the organization. And when he got announced as the head coach and RJ the GM, it's just like one of the greatest moments of my tenure with the Canucks, seeing those two, knowing how hard they've grinded in the minors to get this opportunity at the big club, is something that I think is going to be a game changer of the franchise, and one of the best hires that Francesco Aquilini is going to make in his entire tenure. I really believe that.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have him as well. I mean, it seemed like it was the no-brainer pick, the guy who'd been in the system, had success, and went all the way and got the cup. I mean, there's other teams that would be interested in him. I'm glad that we snagged him. I kind of wanted to get him next year, because I wanted us to for sure, have another struggling year. And I just think there's going to be a Manny bump, because he's just a good coach. He's really a good coach. I think he's going to get more out of these players, and no disrespect to Adam Foote, but I just think Manny Malhotra is a real world. He's going to prove himself to be worth the hire, and I'm excited to see him come. But Abbotsford also has, now there's a new vacancy because Manny moved up. They have a new head coach, and I don't know how to say this last name, so I need your help on this. But give us some perspective on what Abbotsford's getting with this new coach.
Yeah, I still got to get proper pronunciation from him on how you pronounce his last name. I believe it's Ryan Papaioannou. And I think this is a great hire. Like, he's someone that's been talked about in the pros for the last few years, and finally got his first chance in the pros in the ECHL last year, and led the Wheeling Nailers to a division title as a rookie head coach. And a tough league. Like, man, the American League's hard. The ECHL is an absolute grind as well. So the fact that he had well over 40 wins in his first year just shows that he gets the best out of his players. He built an absolute monster with the Brooks Bandits in the AJHL and then the BCHL when they jumped ship. 8 championships, 4 national titles in 10 years. had over 700 wins and like about 150 losses. That's just a ridiculous record. And he's graduated over 150 players to the NCAA ranks. That's the biggest one for me. It's all about development in the AHL. Manny's number one goal and Ryan Johnson number one goal in Abbotsford. They say it's not winning, it's developing, getting players to Vancouver. And so that's not going to change for Ryan as he takes the reins over from Manny. It's going to be about developing the younger players to get them ready for the Vancouver Canucks, however long that takes. It doesn't have to be a rush. They can take their time. And so I really like that they got a solid talent evaluator and someone that gets the best out of their players. Like he's coached elite talent like Cale Makar with the Brooks Bandits. He coached Aiden Celebrini and Brooks as well. And countless players, as I mentioned, graduating to the NCAA ranks. So I'm excited to meet him, get to know him a bit more here. And at the end of the day, he's a serial winner. Fans are going to gravitate to that, and we'll see what he can do in his first year in Abbotsford. I'm excited for him.
Yeah, me too. I am excited. He comes with a real incredible pedigree. I'm personally excited about see what he'll do, and we do need to continue to keep that, not tunnel, but the process of all these great coaches. That's how you build great organizations and having good people in there. So Canucks fans are very interested in the development of these players that we're going to be talking about. And I know you've been talking a long time and sharing a lot of things, and I appreciate that. But you are a play-by-play guy, so you're used to talking a lot. I did a video, or I jumped in with I don't know if you're familiar with Nothing is Perfect. He does play-by-play for the Canucks games on YouTube.
Russell, yeah.
Russell's a great guy. Him and I are good buddies and connected through the online stuff. And one time he couldn't make a game because one of his friends was getting married. And he's like, I need someone to do the game. And I'm like, I'll do it, So I jumped on, did it. And I'm like, I was terrible. Like he does such a good, him do such a good job. It's not an easy job, right? I was also like boring myself. That's how bad. I'm more of like the color commentator kind of guy. I get excited. I do the rants. I get excited about a goal, but like, so you're used to all that kind of stuff and you're able to do it. But when it comes to this team and the different players are going to be with the two-way contracts and possibly moving up and down, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on these players. And I know it's a big list, so you can pick whoever you want and go through some of these guys, but these are the ones that the Canucks fans are really interested on. Kudryavstev, a lot of people really like him and think that he should be playing a bunch of minutes in Vancouver as well. Lekkerimäki, Karlsson, Sasson, Mancini, Bains, Riley Patterson, all these guys. Is it Safonov? Is that how you say his name? A lot of people are excited about him. And then, of course, Cootes, Alriksson, and there's others. So dive into whoever you want to talk about here, but these are the ones that Canuck fans are talking about the most, and what you kind of expect if they're in Abbotsford or in Vancouver.
Yeah, I guess the first name there, Kudryavstev, one of my favorites, an underdog. This is a 7th-round pick, a guy that thought he's going to start in the ECHL a couple years ago, made the Abbotsford Canucks and didn't really look back. And Manny leaned on him a lot, especially in the Calder Cup playoffs, and you don't see that too often for a 20-year-old defenseman. So just the way that he's grown and evolved, just someone that's got that dog mentality. He's 5'11", 200 pounds, but plays a lot bigger than that. He's got some skill as well. He can run a power play. He'll block shots on the penalty kill. He's the first one in the corner. He'll stand in front of the net, cross-check guys in the back. Like, he plays a really hard game, and I think he's going to have a long NHL career because of it. So I'm very, very high on him, and I think he'll play a bunch of NHL games next year in Vancouver. Might see him in Abbotsford a bit as well to continue to develop. So really, really excited about his ceiling. Lekkerimäki, obviously this is a big year for him, but at the same time, he's only 21 years old. People kind of forget that. He's shown at the AHL level that he's one of the best goal scorers in the league. 19 goals in his rookie season. And then last year had 13 in 21. This is a guy with an elite level shot, great offensive instincts, power play, such a threat with that one-timer. Obviously, it's about growing his 200-foot game. And obviously, he's someone that Manny is very familiar with and knows how to utilize him, and has had to show him some tough love as well. has had to sit him out from time to time in his days with the Abbotsford Canucks. So Lecky knows what exactly he needs to do for Manny in order to stay. Linus Karlsson, the greatest Abbey Canuck of all time for my money. Never a doubt he was a full-time NHLer because he brings his work pail and work boots to the rink every single day. Treats practices like games, and you can just see it. It's catching on. Other guys are trying to learn from him. And what he did during the Calder Cup playoff run, I'll never forget, led the playoffs in goals and points and scored the game-winning goal to bring the Calder Cup home. So Linus Karlsson will always be one of my favorites of all time. And I honestly think, Rev Trev, he's going to be one of the leading goal scorers on the team next year if he gets an opportunity. And I know one coach that really likes his game, and that's Manny Malhotra. So I hope that he can play in the top six and just park his rear end in front of the net on the power play, because his stick is unreal. He's like Thomas Holmstrom and Ryan Smith. He picks pucks out of the air. He's in on rebounds. He'll take a beating in front of the net. Like, this guy scoring 20 next year. You can mark that down. I thought he was going to do it last year. Came close, playing bottom 6 minutes. So if he's on the power play and playing the top six, like, no question he can get 20 goals. Max Sasson, another one of my favorites, someone that is one of the fastest skaters on the team. Really good hockey sense. He's good defensively. He's someone that can play in all situations. He can play the wing. Good playmaker. He can score. He's just a great Swiss Army knife, and another player that Manny loved utilizing. So really excited to see if Max can take the next step in his development next year. Victor Mancini, big body that can move. He's got a real intriguing tool set. It's just about putting it all together right now and being more consistent with it. So very interesting to see where he ends up after training camp. Would not be shocked if he makes the team. Would not be shocked if he's back in Abbotsford to start. But if I were to guess, he plays more in the NHL next year. The organization is very high on him, and they really wanted to get someone like him from New York in that JT Miller trade. So I know they were glad that they did. Arshdeep Bains, another one of the Abbey Canucks greats. This is going to be a big year for him. He's got 1 year left on his deal. And again, one of those guys that played a lot under Manny Malhotra. So Manny knows how to get the best out of him. And I think we're going to see the best version of Arshdeep Bains next year, and hope that he can stick with the big club. Riley Patterson, good young kid that came out of junior at the end of last year, came out of the OHL, joined Abbotsford, played 4 games. Manny put him in the top six right away and on the power play. Had a goal and assist in the 4 games, and just really liked his body of work and what he can do on the ice. Highly skilled, can score, had 40 goals in the OHL. Playmaker, not the biggest body in the world, but he plays bigger than he looks. And I think he could have a big year next year, depending where he starts. So interesting to see how he develops next year. Vilmar Alriksson, is too bad his season got cut short last year, because he was really starting to come into his own, and his body, like he's 6'6", well over 200 pounds, that can really skate. So he's got a lot of tools that not a lot of pro hockey guys have. And the first few months in the AHL was a learning curve. He's a guy that was coming out of the OHL, so coming to the pros, there's always that adjustment. It can take a little while. He was in and out of the lineup, but the last few months before he got hurt, like, Manny was putting him in the lineup, and he was playing a lot. And I like how he was using his size and was showing some grit and tenacity after whistles. He was whacking guys getting into it. He fought a couple of times. So I always think it's depressing when a big guy like him doesn't use his size. He was really starting to use it. So I'm really, really high on him, and excited to see what he can do in a full year in Abbey Canucks uniform. Don't know a lot about Safonov there. Other than that, he's a big body that's put up some good numbers in the KHL. And so he's going to fight for his spot. But if not, hopefully he comes down to Abbotsford with a good attitude and will stick it out, because I'm sure the big club will want to give him a look at some point. And Braden Cootes, that's a big wild card going on next year, Rev Trev. With the rule, 19-year-olds can play out of the CHL. Is he going to use that spot, or will he make the Vancouver Canucks like he did next year? I'm really excited about him. He's a leader. He plays hard. He does a lot of the little things well. You don't have to worry about his work ethic each and every night. So coming off a fantastic WHL career, he's ready to make the leap to the pros, and I think that 19-year-old role would be perfect for him, but we'll see what he does in camp.
Yeah. No, and thanks so much for all that information, because these are, like, personally, and I'm sure you would like to see this too, with Manny Malhotra there, Ryan Johnson, I'd like them just to play a couple games with Bains, Sasson, and Karlsson together. Put that line together, they already had the chemistry. Even if you had him on a third line and just let him cook, and why not? Like, what do we have to lose this year? I was hoping they were going to do it last year, but I would love to see that. Is that something that would be realistic, or is that just like trying to relive the past and a little pipe dream? What do you think about, maybe you could give Manny a call and say, hey, Rev Trev's got this great idea. I know it's rocket science. But
well, they actually did it. Adam Foote did it last year, Rev Trev, several times. He put that trio together. They played together in the preseason in Abbotsford, and the roar of the crowd when they stepped on the ice was incredible. And Adam Foote used them in the NHL, and I thought that was one of the coolest moments all last year. The line that drove them to the Calder Cup were playing in the NHL just a few months after they got the job done in Abbotsford. So seeing that trio together, we know what they can do. They played well. They have the chemistry, and so if they're on the same team all at once, I'm sure it'll come across Manny's head to, you know what? I saw what they did in Abbotsford. I saw what they did for a little bit in the NHL last year. Why not put them together? So I would second that. I would love to see them get another chance together.
So I asked you a question from my friend Trevor, and talking about his son Noah, who's trying to make it in broadcasting. But I have a friend named Ernie who would love to know some information on this guy. And if I say it right, Trey Wolski.
Wolansky.
What?
Trey Wolansky.
Wolansky. Okay, Wolansky. So he had 31 goals with Hartford, 121 penalty minutes last year. There's a lot of Canuck fans that are pretty excited about them. Do you know any information about him? He's like 5'7", small, but he's feisty and he's talented. Do you think that he's going to be in Abbotsford this year, or what's kind of the MO, the info on the 411 on him?
Yeah, I remember watching him a bit with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's definitely small, 5'7", but he's got the bigger guy at 193 pounds, right? So he's not easy to knock off the puck. He's put up some massive numbers in the AHL. You mentioned 31 goals last year in Hartford. That's one of the best in the league. Also had over 100 penalty minutes. So he's someone, even though he's not the biggest guy in the world, he's not going to back down. He scored at least 25 in the AHL over in 3 consecutive seasons. Cup of coffee, the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's played over 20 games, I think, in his career. Has, I think, 4 or 5 goals. So this is someone that Ryan Johnson's bringing in that is going to be a big piece in Abbotsford, I think, but won't be afraid to call up if they need him. Like, he's not old. He's not young. He's 27 years old. And if he can provide some sandpaper and some skill on both sides in Abbotsford and Vancouver, I think that's someone great to have. But in terms of his AHL pedigree, it's unmatched. Like, this guy is a goal scorer. He's a playmaker. A couple 60-point seasons. I think he had over 70 one year in Cleveland. So someone that's going to bring the juice offensively and will be a leader in Abbotsford if he is there.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm kind of excited about these guys. I'm getting excited about watching some of these Abbotsford games this year. Are there any other Abbotsford Canucks that Canucks fans should know about or keep their eye on this season? That some guys that you're looking at, and I mean, you see them every day. So is anyone else that kind of on that radar that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, I'll go with 1 forward and 1 D that will likely be in Abbotsford when the season starts. One will be for sure because he's on a AHL deal, and that's Bennett Schimek, who Ryan Johnson signed at Arizona State late last year. Played 13 games with the Abbey Canucks, had 11 points, so almost a point per game coming out of college is almost unheard of. 23 years old, so he's not young, he's not old. He's like perfect for the pros, and was just really impressed with his overall game. Like, he can skate, he's a playmaker, he can shoot, he'll grind in the corners, he can play in the top 6, he's on the power play, and that's exactly what Manny did with him. Like, he played him a lot, which is awesome. And sometimes you can see a guy be a bit shy or back down from playing against grown men, but Bennett, to his credit, was driving the offense almost every night he was in the lineup. And that was just 13-game sample size. So I am really, really high on what he can do next year. And it is as a full-time professional hockey player. So keep an eye on that name. I would not be shocked if his AHL deal turns into an NHL contract, because he has one thing working for him. The guy that signed him to the AHL deal is now an NHL general manager in Ryan Johnson. So you know what RJ thinks of him right there. So I'm really interested to see what he can do. And then on defense, Sawyer Mynio was a guy that I liked a lot last year. Just 21 years old, good BC kid from Kamloops. He can play offensively, defensively, power play, penalty kill, block shots. He is a smooth operator. He can really skate. He transports the puck out of his own end. He can quarterback a power play. He's got a bomb of a shot that I don't think he uses enough. So I think he's someone that's going to be leaned upon a lot, like he was last year. Like RevTrev, the Canucks D was depleted and called up in the first few months of the season. And Manny had no choice but to play the 20-year-old in every situation, and he did not blink. He was playing almost 30 minutes a night for a couple weeks in a row there, and I was just so impressed of how he took all that in stride and was almost craving it. So the fact that he was able to go through that at such a young age as a young professional was just so great to see. So those are just a couple guys off the top of my head that I'm interested to see next year.
Yeah, I'm getting excited now. Those guys are on the radar, and so Canuck fans are going to be interested in that. All right, last question for me, okay, is what gets you excited about the Vancouver Canucks rebuild? And as you're a Canucks fan as well, Abbotsford and Vancouver, as you follow this team, what will you be looking closely at the most?
What gets me excited the most is Manny and RJ and the Sedins in charge, to be honest with you. I've never felt more confident in a management group and a coaching staff, just because like I saw it. I lived it on a day-to-day in Abbotsford. I know what type of culture they instill. I know the non-negotiables. Ryan and Manny have said it publicly, like this is what we expect from the players, or else you're just not going to play. Like everybody has to be on the same page. So you're going to see this team feel and look a lot differently. Practices are going to look a lot differently. Manny and Ryan want practices to be so hard so that when you're playing in a game, it's a lot easier. And so you're going to see a lot of media in training camp and the first few weeks of practice during the season, RevTrev, be like, wow, these practices are intense. And that is exactly what's going to happen. Like these players don't know what they're in for. Actually, the ones that play for them in Abbotsford are probably going to have to prepare the NHLers like Patterson and Besser and those types, be like, hey, like this is what to expect. Like there's no passengers. Like you got to grind in practice, or else you're not going to play. You're not going to get an opportunity. So the fact that those two are going to be in charge of leading the way in the culture is something that really excites me. And I know like there's no timeline on this rebuild, and I don't want them to rush it, but I think they're going to be a lot better than people think. And it's just the way Manny and Ryan go about their business. They get every single ounce out of their players. I saw it firsthand. The Abbey Canucks were not the most talented team when they won the Calder Cup, but they had every single one of those guys on the same page, willing to die each and every night on that ice. And it's going to be the same thing because Vancouver players are going to have no choice. It's either put up or shut up, you're out. So that's what I'm excited about the most, is those two in the scenes leading the charge. And what I'm looking closely at is the development of the prospects. They talked about the Kaizen mindset or Kaizen mindset, and I Googled it after, and I loved what that means. They're looking for incremental improvements, right? They want you to come in, they want you to learn, they want you to grind, they want you to make mistakes, but learn from it. And so I want the team to look a lot different in January compared to what I see in October, and I'm very confident that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I'm getting excited. I'm looking at the roster. There's a lot of young guys, and I know they're going to have an uphill battle, but I do like what I see in Manny being able to develop these young guys, and I do think there's going to be still some other additions that will be coming with. Ryan Johnson's got his hands full for sure. Okay, I want to dive into everyone's comments, but before I do, I want to give you a little bit of a break. Just for a minute, and we're going to hit the promo, and then we're going to dive into your comments. So if you're watching live, please post a comment, a question, comment that you'd like Brandon to answer. We're going to do a few of them here. We only have a few more minutes with them. And then, but if you're watching this later, please post in the comments. I would love to still connect with you. One of my favorite things is Canucks conversations. That's why Brandon and I are here. We're having a conversation about both Canucks teams. So it's been a lot of fun. So I'm going to hit the promo, and then we're going to answer a couple of your questions. So. I want to give a big shout out to everyone that's here tonight. Those that are watching later, I'm excited to have Brandon here with me. Stuart's the first one in the building. It's great to have you. Then we also had a couple people. Don Frazier just became a YouTube member. Thanks, Don, for the support. Lucas Eats just became a YouTube member again, and
Lucas,
great
my
to have
buddy.
you. Great to have Lucas back, and he's got a message for you. Brandon, he says, well, seeing Astle on Rev Trev's show, what a treat. How's that Calder Cup ring treating you, Brandon? And he said, I've worked with a BCHL with the Coquitlam. So he's saying, how's the Calder Cup ring treating you?
You know what? It is treat me very well. It's on my mantle next to a Manny Malhotra bobblehead who takes care of it each and every day. And so I look at it all the time. I'll touch it, I'll feel it, and still doesn't seem real that the team was able to accomplish it. So one of the neatest things that I own. It's right next to my Jim Robson crystal. I got a little, I guess, what do you call it? Tribute to the Canucks. What's the word I'm looking for? When you have you got the memorabilia on a mantle, all Vancouver and Abbotsford stuff. So it lives there for right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, I'm like, I need to get myself an Abbotsford Canucks jersey, and I'm like, just a plain one would be fine. But I'm like, wouldn't it be great to have a Shelov's Canucks? I mean, he got the MVP and all that kind of stuff. That would be awesome too, because I mean, who doesn't like him as a goaltender? Japan 4's in the building. Good to see you, man. Swerve and Irvin, and it was his idea for me to reach out to you, and I was like, I went to go reach out to you, and I'm like, oh, he's already following me, and then I didn't realize. So I called. I'm so thankful that you came on here. But there's a lot of people
Swerve
here.
And Irvin. Let's go.
Swerve and Irvin is a great dude. They have their own channel too that he might be reaching out to you. I mean, you might be busy this summer. It's like, your wife is probably like, hey, are you going to like hang out with us or what?
You know what? She's in the other room right now. Usually this is our time to watch reality TV. So I'm sure she's getting into that right now solo.
Yeah, well, tell her thanks for taking one for the team, okay? Because I really appreciate.
She said she might join live. So if you see a question from her, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get into a couple. So this is my friend Trevor that we already asked this question, but you've already answered that. Witten is here. He is Nux 101, and he's really excited about you as a guest and that it's great content. Let's see if here's a question that comes.
Just followed me.
Pardon me?
I think Nux 101 just followed me, I think, on Instagram. So
absolutely. Nux
101.
Yeah, you'll like his content. He does a great job. Absolutely. You're gonna love him. Okay, Adam says, will anyone be that surprised when Manny coaches the Canucks to a Stanley Cup win this season?
I think the Vegas oddmakers would be for sure. But I would put nothing past Manny. I know that is a daunting task and very unlikely to happen. I'm sure a lot of people think that way just because everybody's admitted in the organization that it's a rebuild, and rebuilding teams just don't win a Stanley Cup in their first year. So that would just be all time, like the biggest Cinderella story in sports history. So bring it on. Wouldn't that be a way to win the first cup in franchise history, eh?
Well, and you know what's hilarious is you go to
with no stadium. Captain.
Pardon me?
Who would Gary Bettman call to come get the cup?
Right? Yeah, that's a good point. Luongo's coming back. Okay, so at the stadium, what's interesting, because it's different than the other stadiums around the league, is our statues are coaches. So Manny would have to get a statue, You know
what, Rev Trev? I'll never forget. It was the first time ever, I guess second time ever, with the caveat that I heard a coach's name being chanted during a game. That was the Calder Cup run. Like, we heard the Artie chants for Shelovs. Sammy Blais had a chant one game, and then all of a sudden the fans broke out of Manny when they're just about to win a game. And I got chills. I made a comment like, I've never heard a coach get their name chanted before, but then I thought, Bruce Boudreau, there it is. But that was different circumstances, obviously, right? Like, everybody and their dog knew that he was on his way out, so the fans are just showing support, whereas the fans were just like, loving every minute of Manny being the head coach, and he's the big reason why the team is getting this far in the playoffs. So him getting his name chanted, and then again at the Calder Cup rally was just, it sends chills down your spine. You knew you had a special one when that happened.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Shannon's in the building, telling everyone to smash the like button. Good to see you, Shannon. I'll see you tomorrow, actually, Shannon. Pumped you're coming up Island. And then my buddy Todd is pumped about this interview. A lot of people are coming in and saying how much they love this. Calvin is in here, and he says, Trey sounds like Sammy Blaze. Or is it Blaze? Is that right?
Sammy Blay.
Blay?
Yeah, pretend like yes,
do you think there's a comparison there?
Sammy's a lot bigger. Sammy is a big boy. And some of the hits that he laid during the playoff runs, I will never forget. Like, he was going out to put people to the pasture, and that is a big reason why he got his name chanted. He was just an absolute menace out there. Trey plays a little more of a skill game. Obviously he's a lot smaller than Sammy, but seems like a guy that isn't afraid to mix it up. Because Sammy would never back down from anybody, didn't care who it was, and seems like Trey's the same way.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Swervin Irvin has a question. Brandon, are there any worries for you in terms of career path now that sports radio in Vancouver is no longer?
It's a great question, Swervin Irvin. I'm not really sure. I don't know what's going to happen. It's still unknown where Brendan Batchelor and Randy Jan are calling the games next year. It sounds like it's going to be a sister station, a Rogers station. So we'll see what happens there. There's always a lot of worries for me in this career. Like, it's so hard to make it to the pros, let alone the NHL. There's only 32 jobs at each level. Mm-hmm. You kind of got to get lucky. It's all about timing, and sometimes who you got to be good, very good, because there's guys in the BCHL that can step right into the NHL and call a game, no problem. There's so much talent out there. You got to find a way to kind of separate yourself and get yourself out there. And one thing that I was doing a lot of was getting on the Sportsnet 650 airwaves, and I was a huge listener to Halford and Bruff, so it was really cool to go on their show a bunch, and with Sat and Bick and Canucks Talk with Drance and Dodd, and listen to those guys religiously. So it sucks that there's not that avenue from a radio perspective, but there's an avenue like you and Russell and Jacob Doodle and the Canucks YouTube community, Canucks Army with David Quadrelli and Harmon. I've been on their show. So there's a lot of Canucks content to consume, and a lot of thanks to people like you and the fans to talk Canucks on July 20th. Like Dave
Crazy,
Pratt, back in the day, Rev Trev, one of his big sayings about the Canucks market was like, there's two seasons. There's hockey season and then waiting for hockey season. And right now we're at the latter. And it's a lot of fun to talk about projected lineups and schedules and all that stuff and prospects. And you can always find a way to talk about something in terms of the Vancouver Canucks.
Totally. Yeah, and I've heard people say that the Canucks fan base is the worst fan base in all of hockey, and they always talk about the riots, and obviously that's a really controversial thing, and we're not happy about it either. But I just tell people that they're dead wrong. We have faithful, amazing fans. We're, like you said, we're in the middle of July. It was plus 27, plus 30 out. People are here watching this. People are going to watch us later. People want to talk about this team, and they're so passionate about it. So I get frustrated hearing that. I just think Canuck fans, man, we were dead last, and we're still talking about this team. And we were like, and the reason I say dead last, we were 14 points lower than the next worst team, and we went on a winning streak at the end and beat a bunch of playoff teams. And there's so much like the Shane Wright trade rumors went through the roof in Vancouver. So this has an awesome fan base, and I know you see it not only in Vancouver but also in Abbotsford. The passion here is amazing.
It is unmatched, and like there would be markets that would kill for this type of fan passion in the fan base. Like it truly is incredible. Are there some bad seeds on Twitter and stuff like that? For sure, but they don't speak for the rest of the Canucks fans who just are really behind this team and want them to do well, and are all over prospects. They're watching players, their clips in junior and college, and like we've talked for over an hour. We haven't mentioned Caleb Malhotra. Like this kid is at the end of the rainbow. The season that the Canucks just went through, it's going to be all worth it because this kid is a game changer. I cannot wait to see him in a Canucks uniform. So there's so much to like about the future. I see it firsthand in Abbotsford, and now getting someone with the pedigree of Caleb Malhotra, a former Chilliwack Chief. I was their announcer at one point. It is really, really cool. And we've never been in rebuild before. This is uncharted waters. Fans have been clamoring for this to happen for the last few years. And now the fact that it is underway, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be tough. There's going to be some nights, cold November nights, the time change and all that, where fans are going to be staying up later to watch the Canucks and being like, this is tough to watch. Why am I doing this? But at the end of the day, we bleed Canucks colors, and there's no team better than the Vancouver Canucks.
I agree. Every fan base has some toxic fans, some bad apples, but we have awesome fan base. Okay, I've kept you for a while. Last two things. Okay, the Joe Cooper. This is the guy who gave me my opportunity at the Buccaneers where I failed miserably. You should have seen how bad I pronounce these names. Joe does a great job. He's worked with the Nanaimo Clippers as well in the past, and he does his own show. I've had him on the show. Great guy. And he said, awesome show. Thanks for the shout out earlier. Brandon, can I get you to give my son Charlie a shout out? He loves your play-by-play and the Abbey Canucks.
Absolutely, Joe. Shout out to Charlie. Thanks a lot for the support. Thanks for listening. Always great to connect and hear from Canucks fans. I hear from them all the time on X and Instagram. That the passion this fan base has is my favorite part of the job. Walking in the arena, talking to fans, yelling at my booth while I'm calling a game. Like all they want is a team that is going to put an honest effort on the ice. And I think things are going to be a lot different now with Manny, Ryan, and the Twins in charge. So shout out to Charlie and Joe. Thanks a lot for your support, and looking forward to get things going next year.
Witten says, does Cootes make the team this year?
I mean, he made it last year, and it wasn't a rebuild at the time, so it would not shock me if he did. I went out to the development camp in Abbotsford, and he was their best player on the ice. Like, he was on a different level. And so I think he's going to go into the training camp with the mindset of making a team like he did last year. It would not shock me at all. Would I selfishly like to see him start in Abbotsford? Yes. But this kid is made up of all the right things that you want to see in a young prospect. So I would not be surprised if he is on the opening night roster in Vancouver.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that he's got a really good shot. Last comment of tonight is Swerve Irvin with a $2.79 donation. Hell yeah, Brandon.
All right, Swerve Irvin, thanks for joining tonight. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll like this little one. Uncharted Waters.
Clever. Shout out Chase Waters, one of the all-time Abbey Canucks great. He's going to have his number in the rafters someday.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you have enjoyed tonight, hit the like button, subscribe, and please follow Brandon on socials. He does a great job. And if you like Canucks content that is passionate, realistic, and honest, hit the like and subscribe, everyone. But Brandon, thanks for coming out tonight. Please tell your wife thank you so much for just putting up with a little bit too long of a stream with me. And anyways, I appreciate it. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to you. Congratulations on winning that award. I didn't say it right away, but that's massive. And I'm so excited for you. Congratulations. That is amazing. So thanks for being here tonight.
No worries, Rev Trev. Thanks a lot for having me on. Appreciate your passion and people like you that Canucks fans want to hear about and engaging and talking about the team and the season ahead. And still a lot of time to go. So good luck coming up with more content along the way, but I'll be listening and watching.
Thanks, man. The thing about Vancouver, there's always a story. There's always drama. There's always something to talk about. It is absolutely amazing. All right, I'll let you go. But thanks so much, everyone, for watching. Thanks, Brandon. And I'll just hit the promo on the way out. And I hope you have a great night. I'd love to have you on another time.
Always a pleasure. Anytime. Thanks, Rev Trev. Talk to you soon.